coming to you live in a living color from the Radio What Studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Smarter. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. One more time. DJLittleRock.com. Check availability, get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me at your next event. I like to party with the people. Speaking of partying with the people, this week's shows, I'll be at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. My usual Friday night gig, the Video Dance Party Karaoke Jam, every Friday night right there. Your favorite place to be, the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. Get there. Yeah, I'll wait. We got some time. That starts at 8 p.m. They got a full bar. The kitchen's open. Pool tables. In fact, they have a pool tournament on Friday night. So if you want to try to make some money while you're waiting to sing a song next to me on stage, I encourage you to check out the pool tournament. Make a living out of playing pool. I'll try not to sing, because you're the stars of the show. I said karaoke. Yeah, I did. If you sing in the shower, if you sing in the car, you could sing at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. Also, I've been doing some streaming, some online game streaming, not just the podcast streaming, but also online game streaming. Find me everywhere using the hashtag KeysDAN Gaming. It's easy. Also, if you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Now, on with the show. Today on the program, 10 things you need to know today for Tuesday, September 8th, 2020. 10 things you need to know today. Number 1, Trump pledges loyalty to workers. Biden gets union endorsements. President Trump pledged his, quote, undying loyalty to the American worker, end quote, during a Labor Day news conference on Monday. Trump used the occasion to take a jab at his rival in the November presidential election, saying that the Democratic nominee, Joe Biden, and his running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, Democrat California, would, quote, destroy the country and would destroy the economy, end quote. Biden, vowing to be the strongest labor president ever, was in Pennsylvania for an AFL-CIO virtual town hall with the union president, Richard Trumka. He picked up 3 endorsements from organized labor on the holiday. Harris started a Labor Day visit to the critical swing state of Wisconsin by meeting with the family of Jacob Blake, the unarmed black man who was left partially paralyzed when he was shot in the back by a white police officer. This is according to the Associated Press. Number 2, Trump open to investigation of DeJoy fundraising allegations. President Trump on Monday said he was open to an investigation of Postmaster General Louis DeJoy's past fundraising for political campaigns, following reports that he pressured former employees to donate to Republican candidates and later had them reimbursed. Quote, sure, let the investigations go, end quote, Trump said in a Labor Day news conference at the White House. The Washington Post reported that when DeJoy was CEO of New Breed Logistics, he and aides urged employees to make campaign contributions, then reimburse them with bonuses, which would violate campaign finance laws. Monty Hagler, a DeJoy spokesman, said DeJoy did not think any employees had felt that they were being strong-armed into making donations and believed that, quote, he has always followed campaign fundraising laws and regulations, end quote. This is according to the Washington Post and the New York Times. Number 3, Russian opposition leader out of medically induced coma. Doctors in Berlin said Monday that they had pulled Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny out of a medically induced coma. Navalny's doctors said that he was responsive as he continued treatment for his poisoning with a military-grade nerve agent, although his long-term prognosis was not yet clear. quote, it remains too early to gauge the potential long-term effects of his severe poisoning, end quote, the doctor said in a statement. Navalny was flown to Germany on August 22nd after briefly being treated in Russia after he fell in on a flight from probably supposed to be ill, on a flight from Siberia to Moscow. German army specialists said he had been poisoned with a substance in the Novichok family of toxins developed by the Soviet Union. Similar nerve agents were used to poison another Kremlin opponent, former Russian spy Sergei Skripal, who was poisoned in the United Kingdom along with his daughter in March of 2018. This is according to the New York Times. Number 4, Trump says Pentagon leaders not in love with him. President Trump on Monday accused U.S. military leaders of pushing wars to increase profits for the defense industry. Quote, I'm not saying the military's in love with me, end quote, Trump said at a White House news conference. Quote, the soldiers are. The top people in the Pentagon probably aren't, because they want to do nothing but fight wars so that all of those wonderful companies that make the bombs and make the planes and make everything else stay happy, end quote. The attack came after news reports that Trump had described fallen service members as, quote, losers, end quote, and, quote, suckers, end quote, which Trump denies. Former Vice President Joe Biden, Trump's Democratic opponent in the November election, told union members on Monday that referring to U.S. soldiers in those terms was, quote, downright un-American, end quote. This is according to CNN and the New York Times. Number 5, hope for coronavirus relief deal dim as lawmakers return to Washington. Lawmakers begin returning to Capitol Hill on Tuesday for a short session before the November election, with dim prospects for a deal on a new coronavirus relief package. Senators reconvene Tuesday, followed by House members next week. Talks between Democrats and the White House stalled last month, and Democrats and Republicans remain far apart on how much to spend on the package. House Democrats initially proposed a $3 trillion+ package, while Senate Republicans' proposal would have cost around $1 trillion. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat California, has since said Democrats would accept a $2.2 trillion package. President Trump said Sunday that Democrats, quote, don't want to make a deal because they think that if the country does as badly as possible, that's good for the Democrats, end quote. Trump said he was, quote, taking the high road, end quote, by refusing to meet with Democrats. This is according to the Associated Press. Number 6, Saudi court releases final verdict in Khashoggi murder. A court in Saudi Arabia on Monday issued final verdicts in the killing of the dissident writer Jamal Khashoggi, sentencing 5 of the 8 defendants to 20 years in prison, 2 to 17 years, and 1 to 10 years. Saudi authorities did not release the names of the people convicted. Khashoggi's siblings and one of his sons said months ago that they had forgiven his killers. Their statements effectively took the death penalty off the table for the defendants. The men were convicted in December of playing roles in killing and dismembering Khashoggi in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul in October of 2018. 5 were initially sentenced to death. Khashoggi had fled his home country during the rise of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and had criticized him in columns he wrote for the Washington Post. This is according to the New York Times. Number 7, Duterte pardons U.S. Marine who killed transgender woman in Philippines. Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte on Monday issued a pardon for a U.S. Marine convicted for the 2014 killing of Jennifer Loud, a transgender woman. The pardon came unexpectedly as a court was considering the appeal of a decision to release the Marine, Lance Corporal Joseph Scott Pemberton, before the end of his sentence. Duterte's decision effectively rendered the appeal moot, angering human rights and LGBTQ activists. Pemberton met loud in a bar as Marines were in the country for joint military exercises. After she was found dead in a motel room, Pemberton, then 19, reportedly admitted to choking the 26-year-old Loud after discovering she was transgender. He claimed that he was acting in self-defense, but police investigators called the killing a hate crime. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but had been ordered released 4 years early for good behavior. This is according to the Washington Post. Number 8, White House reportedly eyeing VA Secretary Wilkie as next defense secretary. White House officials are in talks with Veterans Affairs Secretary Robert Wilkie about stepping in as defense secretary, should President Trump fire existing Defense Secretary Mark Esper, NBC News reports. Esper recently broke with Trump on a handful of issues, including renaming military bases that are named for Confederate leaders and invoking the Insurrection Act to send federal troops to cities experiencing protests. Now, tensions are especially high between Trump and Esper, NBC News reports, as the president faces backlash for allegedly calling U.S. veterans, quote, suckers, quote, and losers. Officials told NBC News, quote, there are no plans to replace Secretary Esper, end quote. Last month, when asked about the issue, Trump said, quote, I consider firing everybody at some point. At some point, that's what happens, end quote. This is according to NBC News. Number 9, record heat fuels severe fire threat in California, Oregon. Much of the West continued to face severe fire threat on Tuesday as record-breaking heat fueled fires that have already burned more than 2 million acres in California, the most ever burned in a single wildfire season in the state. The fires still burning include the second, third, and fourth largest fires on record in California. Excuse me. The explosive Crete fire in the Sierra National Forest, first detected Friday about 290 miles north of Los Angeles, had scorched more than 78,000 acres by Monday afternoon. The most extreme fire danger was forecast for northwest Oregon, where very strong winds, low humidity, and unusually dry land surface created, quote, a volatile environment supportive of rapidly spreading fires exhibiting extreme behavior, end quote, according to the National Weather Service's Storm Prediction Center. This is according to the Washington Post. Number 10, influential opposition leader disappears in Belarus. Maria Koleniskova, a key opposition leader in Belarus, reportedly has disappeared in Minsk after another weekend of mass protests demanding the resignation of President Alexander Lukashenko, who claimed re-election in a vote critics say was fraudulent. Koleniskova was last seen being forced into a vehicle by plainclothes men, independent Belarusian news outlet Tut.by reported. Koleniskova press representative Gleb German told ABC News that Koleniskova's associates had, quote, no contact, end quote, with her on Monday, and her team did not know where she was. 2 other leaders of the opposition's Coordination Council, Anton Roenkopf and Ivan Kraftov, were also missing. The country's Ministry of Internal Affairs said it had no knowledge of the alleged disappearance. Ukrainian media reported that Koleniskova was taken to the Ukrainian border, where she refused to leave and tore up her passport to avoid being deported. This is according to ABC News and The Guardian. That's 10 things you need to know today for Tuesday, September 8th, 2020. Thank you so much for listening. This has been What Makes You Smarter. I'm just trying to learn things myself. My name's Dan, KeysDAN. Thank you so much for listening and putting up with my stumbling as I try to make my brain smarter. And hopefully, if you like my voice and I do this reasonably well, you'll take the journey along with me. Hey, and also drop me some comments. Let me know what you're up to. Give me some good news if you have some. I really want to know. I really want to know. Also, if you'd like to tell your story, any story at all, if you'd like to promote yourself, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. And lastly, KeysDAN Gaming. It's the latest in my creative juices. Let the energies flow. You can watch me play video games. Lately, I've been playing Marvel's Avengers. I think I'm starting to get the hang of it. I was feeling a little down about it at first, but I think I'm starting to figure things out, because it was like a role-playing game where you kind of wandered through and talked to people. But what I really like is the missions where you get to go kick butt. All right, so maybe watch me do some gaming. Find it everywhere using the hashtag KeysDAN Gaming. Makes it pretty easy. I'm on Twitch, and I'm also on Facebook.com/KeysDAN Gaming. So there you go. All right, that's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.